We got a really interesting pitcher to talk about next. Somebody who came out of nowhere.
Mm.
And curious to see where you think he goes from here. It's your number 59th starter, Ronel Blanco.
What's interesting about Blanco to me is I remember in 2023, Blanco pitched briefly, and I really liked his slider. And keep in mind, he did have 17 total games. 10 of those were in relief, 7 as a starter. And when he did start, that's of course when I cared. And I actually got to look at him having Blanco check, along those lines. And I like the slider most of all. Now, what was so exciting this year is that this changeup just kind of came out of nowhere to be a much more reliable pitch for him. And it wasn't on the effectiveness side. I mean, we saw 25% swing strike rate, 72% strike rate in 2023, but
Mhm.
under 10% usage. While this year is 22% usage. And in the beginning of the year, I think it was close to like 30, 35. He lost the feel for it as the season went on. Meanwhile, the four seamer is a pitch that gets hit hard, 44%
Mhm.
ICR. It's not a good attack angle, but it is 17 to 18 inches of vert. It is 7 feet of extension. It's just at 93. So what I love about Blanco is that he really does go upstairs with that four seamer, 57% high location. He pairs that with a slider, 20% swing strike rate with a 70% strike rate on it. But that got hit hard too, 40% ICR, because he really did just kind of throw it over the plate a lot. And I think I'm a little hesitant to lean too heavily into Blanco because I don't see him as someone who can just kind of whip out the perfect pitch of all three of them at any time. I think he's someone that just kind of goes dancing with the disco at times, which is sliders just over the plate and just whatever. Get me a strike with a four seamer that he's hoping they chase out of the zone upstairs. 23% O swing, though, is not as high as you want, but that's because also it's only a 12th percentile two strike count. He's throwing these high four seamers out of the zone earlier in counts than you guys would expect. And that's why you have a appreciated strike rate on it, despite all this usage and everything I'm talking about it, right? And it's a little interesting. So I don't think Blanco has that, hey, I can hit the top of the zone, inside the zone, effectively, top third. He's
Right.
more of a just, I'm going to miss up out of it, which then forces him to throw sliders over the plate, which was why it was a high 40% ICR. The changeup is really the nullifier. And when that left him, he wasn't nearly as productive. But I really think he's a strong pitcher. They limited him to 167 innings. I say limited him because they said that, okay, we need to slow him down a little bit. But you might be worried about the percentage jump. And I totally get that. He's also someone who is going to be 32 in the middle of the year next year. I think the Astros are just going to throw him as much as possible. But yeah, it was a career year. 2.8 ERA, 110 whip. It should get worse.
Mhm.
I don't know how much worse. I don't know if it's going to be at that point of, oh no, this is just not good anymore. But generally, going to get you wins, going to be able to go 6 innings, if not longer. And I think the pitches themselves are good enough, but the changeup is missing early on. I think you are going to have a bad time with Blanco.